If price can hold above these levels, flip back bullish above $2.33, that will open the door for a better recovery on XRP
Low
to
of
$2.
10, which is absurd. I've never seen it that low. On November 22nd, we're currently sitting at 15. And as per the notes, the index has never stayed below 15 for more than 7 days. And this correction followed the same pattern. That's pretty wild. Is there a reason why it doesn't stay below 15 for a couple of days? Does everyone just think, oh, things are on sale? Like you said, it's Black Friday. Like what's the sauce behind this?
Yeah. Okay. I'll explain this with plain language so everyone can understand. This is not just based on July 2023 up-to-date data. This is based on the backtest of the past 5 years. 5 years of this index. We never stay below 15 for more than 7 days. And the reason for that, use this time as example, whoever would have got out of the market have gone out of the market. As simple as that. And there is a reason for that, because when this, by the way, the CMC Crypto Fair and Greed Index, there are generally two versions of Fair and Greed in the market for crypto. One is the Bitcoin Fair and Greed, which you see on a few other platforms, but CMC one tracks more than just BTC. We track the top 10 largest cryptocurrencies, and that's looking at their price momentum, trade volume, volatility, options market, short, long, short ratio, on-chain statistics, as well as CMC proprietary data on the page views, community comments, and engagement. So it's fairly accurate, and it never stays below 15 for more than 7. And this time it's the same. So we started to see the V-shaped recovery in terms of market sentiment. Now, coming back to the very beginning of what I said, HSBC analyst, they are commenting on the current market sentiment, saying that if you want to add risk portfolios, if you want to add risk assets, now is the time to do that, which feels counterintuitive. Why? Because S&P 500 is only 5% below all-time high, but the market for the past 2 weeks have shaken off a lot of the leverage, and a lot of the sentiment have now gone to oversold type of territories. So you need to position your portfolio future proof. That means we know interest rate lower adjustment is coming.
Yes.
We know liquidity injection is coming. And with that incoming to the market, you need to position your portfolio not for December, but for January and February time.
Alrighty, everybody, what is going on? Welcome back to another CYPRX video banger. Shout out to the Crypto News Spotlight for that interview with Alice Liu, research lead at CoinMarketCap, specifically discussing and talking about how the Crypto Fear and Greed Index went to a new all-time low below 15 for the first time ever and hit 10, which is absolutely insane. Just the other day, that was Friday last week, rolling into the weekend last week when we had given you guys some updates on XRP's price action. So in today's video breakdown, considering that she just gave you guys a more optimistic outlook, I want to touch on that and show you guys how that goes hand in hand with what Signum Bank just recently put out on their LinkedIn profile, where they're discussing and talking about the short-term pessimism in the space. However, that is going to likely turn into long-term optimism and now should be seen as an opportunity in the space. And then I also want to touch on some updated XRP price targets, considering our last video breakdown from 3 days ago, because I'm about to be traveling up in the coming days ahead. And so I just want to make sure I get a good update, accurate technical analysis for you guys that are actually interested in real technical analysis insights and have been up to date with our accurate targets and insights up to this point. So with that being said, touching on first, before we get into the XRP technical analysis, considering what Alice Liu said from just the other day ago when she was interviewed by Crypto News Spotlight, she said specifically that the Crypto Fear and Greed Index doesn't usually stay below the 10 to 15 grade mark for more than a week to 2 weeks, at least historically speaking. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that that's going to continue to remain the case. Nonetheless, that is exactly why I've been telling my private community that I'm dollar cost averaging into this space and utilizing these pullback opportunities as exactly that, to position myself for the long term in the coming months ahead, as what's most likely going to happen is after all the retail over leverage is shaken out, institutions have regulatory clarity, we're likely to see these prices turn around and everything in the sentiment flip back bullish.
But at the same time, because I came from TradFi background with deep background in ETFs, I understand this end of the year, institutions, they rebalance their portfolios, right? So it's very hard
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
them to actually go in with big amount of money at the end of the year, be like, I'm gonna buy the dip. No, that's not how they works. That's not how it works for them. They have risk frameworks, they have their investment strategies. So my thinking here is, I agree with you. End of the year, I don't see much of a reversal for us. If anything, we potentially could get some interest rate indications earlier December, but no one knows, and it's not gonna be material driving the market. My consideration here, coming into January, when Fed have another host of the economic data, then they would data points, then they would start to look at the interest rate decisions there. And then February is the time when the institutions reposition their portfolio for this interest rate decisions as well as new liquidity into the market. That is when we're going to have the bounce back again. Definitely, I don't see an all-time high again this year, but potentially in February next year, we could have another all-time high.
Now, I'm not the only person, nor is Alice the only person with that bias in mind. Here, this is directly from Signum Bank. Shout out to the CYPRX researchers for this one. This was posted just 7 hours ago as of time of recording. Today is the 28th, Friday. Depending on when you're watching this video breakdown, this is relatively fresh. But at a recent summit event that took place, it says here, Fabian Dori, Signum Chief Investment Officer, on stage at this year's Finance und Wirtschaft, I'm probably butchering the crap out of that, from Zurich, Switzerland, said Q4 has delivered a painful correction and sentiment reset. But the medium-term drivers of this cycle, macro momentum, liquidity, on-chain fundamentals, and regulation still remain intact. And that is coming directly from an individual representative at Signum Bank. The current environment is obviously, of course, uncomfortable in the short term, but historically, it has offered attractive entry points for investors with a mid to long-term horizon rather than a cycle ending. So I thought that that just went hand in hand with what Alice said when she was interviewed just the other day. You can see them sitting on stage talking most likely in front of other major financial institutions, industry-leading experts, and regulators. And they don't seem worried one bit, nor does this statement linger or hint at any sign of worrying. So again, utilize this opportunity, not financial advice, to just do your research, reassess your risk tolerance as we head into the new year. With that being said, heading over here, because recently I've been giving you guys accurate updates on XRP, and I want to continue to do that for you all so that you all can see that here at CYPRX, we deliver real accurate insights when they matter most. And so from the other day, when I mentioned to you guys that my accumulation targets back at the beginning of November were about $1.90, we have seen XRP increase from those levels and those areas of interest that I've been giving you guys roughly about 15%. Now, that's nothing substantial. It is nothing to brag or boast about. But in more recent updates, we specifically told you guys that from $1.90, we were paying attention to $2.28. So you can see here, this is that video from 3 days ago. So from $1.90, price then has recovered from $1.90 and tapped into our $2.28 target that we delivered for you guys in this particular video breakdown. And again, just to show you guys that we give these targets well in advance to our private community members, heading over here to our private CYPRX Discord, which anybody can have access to as a monthly subscriber, looking at timestamps, you can see this is from last Friday, November 21st, 2025. So this is from directly 1 week ago, because as of time of recording this video, it is Friday, November 28th. Here's a screenshot via our institutional software where I had said to the private communities, the $2.28 sell dark pool is our area of interest for price to come back up into. And then in this particular video breakdown that I made for you guys 3 days ago, I hinted that that is the area of interest that we would need to see buyers break bullishly above and hold it as support in order to see a continued rally. And so now fast forwarding to today's price action, again, taking a look at the screenshot, $2.28 sell dark pools that we had highlighted, again, taking a look at the timestamps. I show you guys these things so that way nobody's like, oh my gosh, their algorithms don't work, this, and that, all the yapping that happens on the internet. We're here to just show you, myself and our institutional professionals, that we have built these softwares. They do work and they do exist. And if you want access to them, you guys can head over to CYPRXtrading.com and you can have access directly to these institutional insights on any trading pair that you want access to. You want access to XLM, Bitcoin, HBAR, XLR, Solana, the list goes on, Quant, Ethereum. We deliver insights for all of these trading pairs. Nonetheless, now if we head over to current price action, giving you guys a daily update from that $1.90 range, you can see that $2.28 has done its job, as we mentioned in our previous video, and acted as a resistance. Buyers have, at the time of recording this video, failed to break bullishly above it, hold it as support, and trail into higher price territory. So I want to give you guys just an accurate, updated analysis as to what we are going to be looking for, some specific price levels to pay attention to, and just take a real quick look at our institutional software. So let's go back to the XRP analysis section and just take a look at some areas of interest that our institutional scalper has been telling us to pay very close attention to. So if we come down here to some updated price levels, you can see here that he went to go on and mention that sellers have been trapping buyers at roughly about $2.33, where a current resistance or sell wall exists at about $2.33. So right now, as of time of recording, if we want to see buyers push prices into higher levels, which we'll get into in just one second, we're going to go ahead and get rid of $2.28. And our next area of interest, now that we have come into $2.28 and it has acted as a resistance, and now you can see prices are slightly starting to pull back into previous demand ranges, we would ideally like to see these previous demand ranges hold, where buyers trapped sellers and became aggressive enough to push price higher. And we would like to see $2.33 turn into a support, buyers trap sellers at these levels, and start to become aggressive above $2.33, breaking previous resistances and sending us into higher price targets. Now, where could price pull back to? Where could we see a reaccumulation of orders as we roll into December? Again, taking a real quick look at the screenshots, you guys can see areas of interest where buyers have thrown up support walls or buy walls, where if price does come back down into these areas of interest, buyers are likely to defend if sellers cannot become aggressive and break thoroughly below them. So these areas of interest come in at roughly around $2.06 to $2, and roughly about $1.90 to about $1.84. So taking a look on the retail charts over on TradingView, as long as we remain above $1.90 or this current institutional dark pool, even if price was to come down and revisit these previous demand areas, I'd still be looking and optimistic that XRP is going to trail back towards the $2.33 range to make another attempt to break higher. Now, obviously, of course, we're going to need a fundamental backdrop in order to support a risk-on environment. But if we can see that heading into the month of December, and we can see buyers become aggressive above $2.33, then I will become optimistic that XRP can start to aim for higher prices. So $2.33 and price remaining above the $1.90 range at a minimum is what I'm currently aiming for if we want to see a good substantial price recovery on XRP above $2.33. Above $2.33, the next and most immediate area of interest comes in at about $2.63. That is where our next institutional sell dark pool exists. So if we do in the coming days ahead see a break above $2.33, buyers turn this into a support, regardless if we see a retracement from where we currently are trading at, a medium retracement or a deep retracement down into $1.90. As long as buyers can trap sellers at $2.33, hold it as support, and become aggressive, then that will open the door for me to possibly consider some higher price targets. Again, those targets immediately to the upside are $2.63. If something was to happen, we are to see a substantiating bullish recovery on XRP. A target above $2.63 that is on my radar is the next and most immediate institutional sell delta on our radar that our software has generated at roughly about $3.11, which is near the October sell-off. You can see here, Thursday, October 2nd, right when the market started to peak out and roll over into this October 10th dump, that institutional dark pool comes in at about $3.11. So you guys have some upside targets to be mindful of. If we can break and sustain momentum above these higher targets, then I will be optimistic that we could see a full-blown recovery in XRP, but not until then. Now to the downside, what I'm paying very close attention to. Now, I will make sure to give you guys another update in the coming days ahead. I'll probably do these every 2 to 3 days. So make sure that you guys are subscribed, make sure that you guys are paying attention, and have your notifications turned on so that way you guys can stay up to date with these accurate price analytics. Now, considering that right now we have some institutional buy walls resting at about $2.06 to $2 and $1.90 to $1.84, those are going to be our immediate areas of support. Where if price does retrace down into those areas, we want to see buyers trap sellers. Then we want to see them flip into aggression and hold these levels as support and start to push price back to the upside. And if we do not get that, then these are going to be our areas of interest for concern if we start to break beneath them and print bearish price action below. So if we do not see a sustainable break and hold above $2.38, and instead we see a break below $2.06, sellers start to overpower buyers at those levels and create lower lows and lower highs. Our immediate bearish target is again going to be that $1.90 range for a possible reaccumulation of some XRPs. If the $1.90 range threshold breaks, then $1.56 is still on our radar to the downside, especially if the overall sentiment in crypto sours or worsens any further than it currently is. So anything below $1.90 would open the door for $1.56, which we're keeping on our radar. Worst case scenario right now on XRP below $1.56, we do have an institutional buy delta that comes in at about $1.20, which interestingly enough is exactly near where the wick from the 10/10/2025 October liquidation event dropped down into at roughly about $1.20. So it's reasonable to assume that if the market sentiment were to sour worsen, that we could revisit these levels before we see buyers step back in and defend previous prices where they were buying at. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that that is exactly what's going to happen. Again, we're paying attention to these levels intraday. We're being very mindful of the market sentiment day by day, paying attention to fundamentals. We have a lot of fundamentals on the forefront to be mindful of in the coming days ahead. I will make sure to give you guys timely and accurate updates, not only on X, but also on YouTube. You guys now currently have the levels that we would like to see hold as support, which currently come in at about $2.06 to $2, $1.90. If price can hold above these levels, flip back bullish above $2.33, that will open the door for a better recovery on XRP to $2.63 and above. If those levels and those thresholds are not met, sentiment starts to deteriorate and we break below the current levels mentioned. $1.90 is our first bearish target. Anything under that opens the door for $1.56. And current worst case scenario right now on our radar is $1.20. I'll make sure to update you guys as time moves along. Hopefully you guys have been paying attention to these accurate updates. No hopium, no hype, no retail indicators, no confusing technical analysis, just sound institutional analytics. Again, if you guys want access to any of these institutional insights, you guys can always head over to CYPRXtrading.com. You can tap in with us in our private CYPRX Discord. There's so much valuable information to be discovered inside the private CYPRX community. With that being said, check out this short video breakdown. Hope to see you guys on the inside, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Are you the type of person who's always felt that there has to be more than the mainstream headlines, but could never find the deeper, real information the masses never talked about? If so, welcome to the CYPRX Discord. You've entered the general access lobby. To move deeper into the CYPRX ecosystem, you can become a monthly member. Once inside, you'll understand why CYPRX is different from anything the mainstream offers. What does a CYPRX monthly membership unlock? CYPRX is one of the most comprehensive research communities available to retail investors. If you're a crypto investor, active trader, or DeFi user, you'll find a home here. Our team goes into the rabbit holes most people don't even know exist. Inside, you'll find non-mainstream research that you won't see on Twitter or YouTube. We have built one of the world's largest organized collections of documents, panel discussions, regulatory updates, and institutional publications in the entire space. If you've ever struggled to find recent crypto summits, events, recordings, or global policy panels, don't worry, we track everything. These are the conversations that people should be listening to, but rarely do, because mainstream sources never surface them. We also have real time macro and institutional market breakdowns. Our team gives you detailed, timely analysis of the macro environment, what's happening, why it's happening, and how it affects crypto, FX, equities, and global risk sentiment. This keeps our community ahead of volatility instead of reacting to it. We also have institutional grade technical analysis insights. Private members get access to our in house software, years in the making, which provides institutional deltas, dark pool information, and algorithm driven levels across any liquid asset class. This is true institutional data, built specifically for retail traders who want the clarity the mainstream never gives them. We offer 4 to 6 private Zoom calls every single week. You will learn from CYPRX mentors who actively manage 6 to 7 figure trading and crypto portfolios. Whether you're a beginner or advanced, you'll always have someone to guide you. We also offer hundreds of educational documents. From DeFi strategies to macroeconomics to deep dive investing frameworks, our library is built to elevate anyone looking to become a real knowledgeable investor. We also have the largest collection of esoteric, spiritual, and awakening resources. If you're someone seeking a deeper meaning, higher awareness, or the wisdom hidden between the lines of ancient texts and modern systems, this section alone can change your trajectory. We don't just teach markets, we teach perspective. This is some of the information waiting for you inside CYPRX. No hopium, no surface level hype, no recycled Twitter noise, just real education, real insights, and a community built for people ready to elevate financially, mentally, and spiritually. Whenever you're ready, we will see you on the inside. We hope that your journey starts here.